The updated Traxxas Maxx is here, and it's bigger, more aggressive, and ready to bash. So today, we review the truck, see how fast it goes, and then get a little muddy. So how good is the new Maxx 2.0? Well, let me show you. Now, it's no secret the Traxxas Maxx is a high-performance 4x4 electric monster truck that comes waterproof, brushless, 4S LiPo-compatible, and with a 60-mile-an-hour speed rating. On top of that, the drivetrain in the truck is spec'd for 6S power. The electronics aren't compatible for that, but the drivetrain can handle it. And we've done it once in a video, and the results were pretty extreme. Now, with the Maxx, it's a serious truck intended for serious RC enthusiasts. And it just got even better. Now on the surface, the new emphasis for the truck is that it comes with the WideMaxx kit included as standard equipment, which used to be a $50 upgrade before. Now most of you are already familiar with this WideMaxx kit and what it offers, so we're not gonna spend too much time on that, but just for a head-to-head comparison, here's the new Maxx on the left and the old Maxx on the right, and the new truck is about 1.5 inches wider, or about 10% wider, giving it a little bit more stable stance and better cornering performance. Now compared to some other trucks in this category, here's the new Maxx with the 4S BLX Kraton on the right, which you can't even buy anymore, but the Maxx is about 1/2 inch wider. You can't really tell because the Kraton tires have a bigger offset, but pop those tires off and sure enough, the Maxx is about 1/4 inch wider per side. Now here's the new Maxx with the 3S BLX Big Rock, which is not really in the same category, but just for a size comparison, here is the Maxx on the left and the Big Rock on the right, and the Maxx is quite a bit wider. Okay, so the WideMaxx is wide. You can take an old Maxx, buy the WideMaxx kit, put it on your Maxx, and now you've got a WideMaxx, right? Technically you do, but this WideMaxx is not the same as this WideMaxx. Now, of all the updates on the new Maxx truck, perhaps the most significant is not the use of the WideMaxx kit, but instead, it's the use of a new longer chassis that the Maxx comes included with, stretching the truck out almost 1 inch longer than the old, which effectively increases the wheelbase by about 7%. Now there are pros and cons to a longer chassis, like that they're better for straight line stability, they're a little bit more forgiving in really rough terrain, and they help keep the front tires down when you're popping lots of wheelies, which can clash with really aggressive driving styles. So for any heavy-footed drivers who like to drive as strapped as possible, this upgrade is a really excellent addition to the new Maxx, and it would have been cool to see it used in the naming convention, like maybe the Long Maxx, or how about the Maxx XL? Now there are a few implications with having a longer chassis, like you need a longer body to fit, and the new Traxxas Maxx has a longer body. The body is identical to the original, and it retains the skid plates, the clipless body fastening, and that structural tubing, but the tubing is now longer. Because of these length differences in the bodies, the old Maxx body and the new Maxx body are not cross-compatible. Now, some other long chassis upgrades include a new longer center drive shaft that's still aluminum, it's just a little longer. Traxxas is identifying these updated longer parts by saying that they fit the Maxx with extended chassis. Other new parts include a new bigger and longer battery box to be compatible with a wider range of batteries, including the Traxxas flagship 6700 mAh 4-cell. This battery was originally designed for the big X Maxx, and now it can be shared between both trucks. Last but not least is one more important update, and it's the new tires that come as standard equipment on the Maxx, and they're the 2.8-inch sledgehammer tires. Now these Moto S tires have an open block tread, and they work really well in loose conditions, and they hooked up really well on the street as well. The tires are TSM rated like before, but they're not directional, but they are bigger. Tire venting is done on the wheel, not the rubber, so you'll need to cover that up if you're driving in wet conditions to keep that water out. The wheels use a 17mm hex with that axle hole insert, and just about any other 17mm size tires and wheels will fit, like these belted on-road tires from Sweep Racing, called the Road Crushers. Here are the 3.8-inch Proline Badlands, and they're just slightly taller than the Traxxas Sledgehammers, but they fit. And lastly, here's one of my favorite tire combos for the Maxx, and they're the UDR tires and wheels, but they look a little small compared to the Sledgehammers. Now these new Sledgehammer tires are pretty tall. They're taller than the original Maxx tires. And a taller tire acts like gearing up on the transmission, especially when the tire starts ballooning. So to compensate for this, the new Maxx comes with new gearing, where Traxxas has dropped the pinion gear by 1 tooth. So now it includes a 23 tooth over a 24 tooth. And speed runs don't seem to be affected. Now we set out to test the top speed with our GPS speed meter and a fully charged 4S LiPo battery. After a few passes with TSM turned down, we realized a 52 mile-an-hour top speed on the out-of-the-box gearing. In order to reach that very top 60 mile-an-hour speed, both the pinion and the spur gear need to be changed on the Maxx, which we're not going to do because it's only good for speed runs and you'd have to change it right back afterwards to bash without overheating the truck. Now after that speed run, we finally got our first chance to bash the truck, and bash we did. It's been raining a lot recently, so all this grass is wet, but that water roosting off the tires looks so cool. The truck is fine, it's just wet. Moving on. These backflips are super easy once you get the timing down. Moving on.
Ooh, yeah, it's okay. Look at this beautiful shot recorded just before we broke the Maxx. See, somebody thought it'd be a good idea to drive in this ditch, but it wasn't. Did you see it?
Oh, we broke it!
Did we?
Yeah, you still recording?
Yeah.
Look at that. Busted an upper arm. Oh, and the lower arm. Gnarly. Now when we ripped through this little ditch, the tire kind of caught up on this fence. And I'm sure it yanked it right off. It's my fault, not the truck's fault. So here's the damage. We took the shock off so you could see easier, but on the lower suspension arm on the left side, it cracked right there. Nowhere else though. And then for the upper arm, it did fully crack kind of in half here. It's separated in the center, and then of course he broke. The top suspension pin is nice and smooth. It's not bent. This metal brace is not bent. The lower hinge pin down here is not bent. Everything still moves nice and smooth, and the drive shaft also is in good shape. Now I also want to note that outside when we were driving in that parking lot, it was about 46 degrees Fahrenheit, so it was pretty cold, and parts tend to break more in that weather.
It took maybe 15 minutes or so to replace those suspension arms, and we were back in business. We even added the belted road crusher tires from Sweep for a little parking lot bashing out front. Now, all in all, the updated Maxx is one of the best, most durable, and most refined 4S bashers you can get. It is an amazing truck. Now, admittingly, I have a personal bias towards longer chassis. I always like the longer chassis vehicles, especially when there's an option between a short and a longer. That's just my personal preference, and it doesn't represent everybody. But still, if we just set aside the chassis for a moment, you take into account the new Maxx includes the WideMaxx kit, it includes much better tires, and it includes a bigger battery box for more lipo freedom. And it does all this while costing only $20 more than the original Maxx. So I've got to ask, what's not to like? Guys, you can go check out the new Traxxas Maxx by following our links down below. And if you want more RC, check out these videos. Or you can just stay here and watch me do this. Yeah!